Assalamu alaikum, you are tuning into Her Chronicles on Salam Radio 106.2 FM, a radio show where we take a deep dive into womanhood, various aspects of a young woman's life, including her physical, emotional and social experiences. I'm your host, Maleeha Iqbal, and joining me in the studio is my wonderful guest, Rumana Jeffries. Hello, Rumana.
Hi, Maleeha.
How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me here today.
Thank you for being here. I know you had to brave it in the cold today.
No, it's okay. It was just the traffic. It was mad today on the road. So my sat nav took me all the way round and round.
Oh, just wanted you to see the whole of Peterborough today.
So, yeah, because obviously I'm not originally from Peterborough, so I'm still getting to know the layouts and where everything is. So it's funny because when I was coming down the road, I thought, oh, I know where this is. But actually the sat nav took me completely randomly. I had no idea where I was going.
Oh gosh, I hate when it does that. But for the next hour, we will be discussing your career journey towards becoming a successful business owner, the lessons you learned along the way, and also your outlook on women in leadership positions, especially in the professional world. But yeah, do you want to give a brief kind of introduction into yourself?
Yeah, of course. So I started off I dropped out of grammar school, which nearly killed my parents. They had, as every Asian parent knows, you have aspirations for your children to achieve as much as you can in terms of education and career. Now, I was at grammar school. I unfortunately went down the wrong path, and I did end up sort of getting a job. And the first job I applied for was a telesales role.
Wow.
And it was the only one that didn't need any experience. So I thought, I'll go for that. Because my dad was literally like, look, you've dropped out of school. You're going to have to get a job. We can't keep paying for everything forever. You're going to have to stand on your own 2 feet. So I thought, okay. And I got this job. Turns out I was actually quite good at it. And it was an amazing experience, absolutely amazing, wonderful, because at such a young age I learnt so much, and I learnt that actually the number one rule of business is probably selling. So if you can learn how to sell, you can set up a successful business, right? So I did that, and unfortunately in the 2008-2009 recession I lost my job. I was made redundant. And I went back to mum and dad. I was like, what do I do? I've lost my job. And they were like, my dad was like, well, you've got 3 options. You can be a doctor, a lawyer, or an accountant, right? Because apparently in Asian household, that's the only 3 careers you can go down. So I thought, okay, well, being a doctor is way too much studying. Law does just not seem appealing to me. I was always good at maths. I'll be an accountant. So I literally went round the entire town asking people for jobs, for work experience, even voluntary roles. And I just had no luck. Everybody wanted someone that was experienced. And I must have written about 100 letters. So back in those days, it was writing cover letters, printing off your CVs, posting it to businesses.
Just getting it out
there, exactly. And I remember going to meet a recruitment agency one day to sort of sign me up for any temp work they might have, etc. And next door was an accountancy firm. So I just walked in next door, and I was just like, hi, I'm looking for a job. Like, even if it's 2 weeks voluntary, like, I'm happy to do it. I just need to get the experience. I think they liked how bold I was. So they said, okay, fine, we'll give you a 2-week trial. So that's how my career in accounting started.
Yeah.
So I went from a grammar school dropout to working in sales to actually now working in an accountancy firm. Those 2 weeks went so well that they actually offered me a full-time job. And I enrolled for ACCA. I was studying ACCA, and I was learning on the job. So it was very, very insightful, looking at different companies, whether it's a small sole trader, it could be anyone in the trade industry, plumbers, electricians, all the way to sort of 5, 6, 7 million pound turnover companies that might have, multiple subsidiaries, etc. So I learned so much. Unfortunately, within a few years, both partners had fallen out, and I thought, oh my God, I'm going to be made redundant again.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
So the business was falling apart. And at the time, my fiance said to me, why don't you just set up your own business? Why don't you just do it? Everybody in your family has their own business, just do it.
So that thought like never crossed your mind, even though you kind of were raised.
Not at the time, because I was raised in a household where all the men had businesses. There wasn't a single female business owner in my family, mum's side or dad's side, no one. So I suppose deep down, I wanted to be a business owner, but I didn't think that was my time. I always thought of it as something I'd do when I'm older. But because my fiance mentioned it to me, I just thought, okay, well, actually, this accountancy firm that I'm currently working with, because of all my training in sales, I was signing up quite a lot of clients. So I wasn't just doing VAT returns, tax returns, accounts, etc., but all the business development side I was handling as well. So I thought to myself, well, I wasn't actually fully qualified at that point, but I could always bring in staff to help me as long as I can get the clients in. So I did that, set up my first accountancy firm in 2014. And then we grew really, really well, actually, very, very fast. I ended up having 12 employees, one winner, award winning. So, Young Entrepreneur of the Year, Businesswoman of the Year.
Wow.
I got to know everybody locally. So all the politicians, the councillors, I got to meet all the bigger businesses, so the CEOs of larger businesses, the council members. And I loved that part of my life. I absolutely loved it. I finally felt like I had a purpose. Like I wasn't just going to be sent off to get married to somebody and that was it.
Yeah.
Which I'd been told all my life that that's what would happen. So I became more and more independent. And, a few years later, I decided to set up another accountancy firm. During this time, I spent a lot of time marketing and developing my marketing skills. And, anything from SEO to PPC or even just in-person networking. So I set up another accountancy firm just to see if I could do it again. And it wasn't just by fluke or by luck that I managed the first one to be so successful. So I did that. That was great. Went perfectly well. I then decided, I was going to start a family. And that's when things started to turn a bit tricky for me. Managing a business, having a baby, it was a nightmare.
Seems like a lot to juggle all at once.
Absolutely horrible. I remember when my son was born, I had a very complicated labour, but I ended up having a cesarean section. And I'm sure when you have a C-section, you're not allowed to drive for at least 6 weeks.
Yes.
The business, I couldn't stop thinking about the business, and it was coming up to our busiest period. My staff were ringing me, clients were calling, emailing. And I just remembered sitting one day just thinking, I just want to be a mum, but I can't because I'm having to deal with all of this. And my husband said to me, you're not going into the office. You're not allowed to drive. I'm not taking you into the office. You need to relax. You need to rest at home. The business will sort itself out. And I remember one day at 6 o'clock in the morning, I woke up and I left my son and my husband in bed and I literally called a taxi and I went to work. And this was 3 weeks after I'd given birth.
Oh.
That's how stressful my life was at that time.
Yeah. And was it the kind of fear that the business would just like crash?
Yeah. 100%. I spent so many years building that business up, building my reputation up. And all of a sudden I was terrified that I was going to lose it. So 3 weeks after giving birth, getting into a taxi and going into work, which I did against my husband's wishes, which he wasn't happy about, leaving my baby behind. That was a really tough time for me. I mean, I wouldn't wish that on anyone, any mother. Things died down slowly and, my parents were a great help with babysitting and, my son went to nursery, etc. So I went back to work full time. 2 years later, I fell pregnant with my daughter. And that's when I started having panic attacks for the first time. And it wasn't because I was scared of having her or, financial worries or anything. It was literally the business. Oh, my God, what am I going to do about the business? Yeah. Again.
The same worries coming back again. Yeah.
And I just thought, I can't live like this. It's so stressful. I decided, Selling the business wasn't ever on the table. But because I'd made a name for myself locally and regionally, I had quite a few offers coming in at the time. You know, do you want to sell your business? We're happy to pay a premium, etc. And I just thought to myself, well, I don't even know what it's worth.
Yeah.
Let me just find out. And I was so surprised at how much my business was valued at the time. And the fact that people were willing to pay a premium for it was just such a huge compliment, really. So we decided, so originally we're from Kent. We decided we were going to move and I'm going to sell the business. I had an office in Cambridge and I thought I'd keep the Cambridge office and sell the Kent branch. And
that must have been a really hard decision in itself, really.
It was. I mean, you know, I grew up in my hometown. I went to school there. All my friends are there. All my family were there. But at the same time, as you grow older, you just think, gosh, and when you have children as well, it's like you stop thinking about yourself and you start thinking about them. And I remember, like, if I wanted a doctor's appointment, I'd have to wait outside the GP surgery at 8 o'clock in the morning because you wouldn't get through on the phone. So you literally had to knock on the door just to get an appointment. Schools, when my son was born, I had to put his name down for the school because they were oversubscribed. That's how bad it was. Even though he wasn't going to go to school until 5 years later, I had to put his name down. So we were looking for a quieter lifestyle. My in-laws had passed away, so my husband had no family back in Kent anymore. So we looked at, you know, across the East Coast, and we came across various different towns and cities, but Peterborough really stood out to us because being an accountant, I'm a bit geeky when it comes to spreadsheets, and I literally made a spreadsheet of the environment, the economic situation, the schooling, the crime, everything. And we compared it to about 5 or 6 towns, and Peterborough came up number 1. Yeah, so I don't know why people say that it's not a nice place to live because, you know, for us, it ticked most of the boxes. So what we loved about it was that it was so multicultural and there was a lot of diversity here. Obviously, as you can see, my son is sitting outside. He is mixed race. And what we wanted was for him and my other children to feel included. I didn't ever want them to feel like they didn't belong. Obviously, moving to a new city was strange for all of us. So yeah, we moved to Peterborough. I sold the office, and I had my second child, and then within a month I got really bored. That's when I realised actually, like,
on to the next
being
venture.
a staying-at-home mum isn't for me. Like, I have to work, I have to do something.
Yeah.
And by that time I was unemployable because, you know, I'd run my own business. I was set in my ways. There's no way I could work for somebody else and do a 9 to 5. So I set up another accountancy firm.
Wow.
And I focused.
It just runs through your blood right now,
I know,
honestly.
it's crazy. And you know what? It all goes back to when I was 19 and I did that sales training with that telesales company. The sales skills that I developed have been an immense help. You know, that's been like the driving force to my success, I think, because I knew I could just set up a company just like that and get clients because I could sell.
Yeah.
So I set up the third firm, and then COVID hit. And then what happened was a few of my friends actually lost their jobs. And I think one of the partners passed away with COVID and the other one decided he was going to sell or merge with another firm. Anyway, 2 of them, they lost their jobs. So they said to me, Romana, you've done this before. Can you help us? How do we set up our own firm? How do we get clients? And that's how I actually started my current business, which is what I do now. I work as a coach and a business consultant to accountants and financial advisors and CPAs and bookkeepers because I've been there, done it 3 times over.
Yeah.
And it just happened by chance. I never thought about coaching anybody before. You know, I started doing it with my friends and then I started marketing myself and actually, you know, getting worldwide clients now. So I've got clients in Canada, in America, in Europe, in UK. So coaching, consulting, I think I finally found my calling. Like it doesn't bore me.
Yeah.
You know, and helping, like seeing somebody's progress and seeing them actually succeed in business, it really makes me happy. Like, because you think every time every time one of my clients, an accountant, signs up a client for themselves, I say to them, what are you going to do with our money? And they're like, oh, we can finally afford to go to Florida, or we can finally go on a cruise, or, you know, we can finally get that extension done on our house. And that's what means the most to me, seeing how it personally impacts those people. So that's what I've been doing for the last 6 years. I've been consulting and coaching other business owners on how to grow their business.
Wow.
That
sounds quite
relocated, three children. Yeah, here I am.
One thing I find so admirable about your journey is the confidence you have in yourself and just the belief to even pitch yourself to a company at 19. Not a lot of 19-year-olds can say they've done that before. Even before your whole successful journey, how did you have that belief stored inside of you that you are more than capable of being in the business industry?
I think it all goes down to being raised in a South Asian family.
That already you have confidence.
With 4 brothers.
Wow.
So all the male members of my family, they pretty much own restaurants, takeaways, you know, Indian takeaways, Indian restaurants, etc. And I remember growing up as a girl, I was allowed to go to the restaurants, but when I hit the teenage years, suddenly I couldn't go anymore. And I thought to myself, why? And my mum said to me, you know, you're becoming a woman now. Restaurants aren't the right place for you. We don't want other men to ogle at you, etc., etc. I was like, oh, great. What a pile of, you know, codswallop. What am I supposed to do now? And I felt like other family members were, like male members, were always given more chances than the female. So as a female growing up, oh, you're going to get married, you're going to have your own family, that's it.
Yeah, your future's already set for you.
Yeah,
there's
we
no
want you
need
to have
to
an
change
education,
it. Yeah.
but that's it. We don't care if you work or not. You're going to be a wife, you're going to be a mum, etc. So watching my brothers, my cousins, everyone just, you know, be in business, etc. I thought to myself, no, I can do this. If they can do it, I can prove to mum and dad that I can do it too. And it was, I actually missed out one point in my story, that at one point I did actually go and set up an Indian takeaway just to prove my dad I could do it.
What? That's...
Yeah. So I was working as an accountant from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock. 5 p.m. I'd go to the takeaway, still in my suit, and I'd be serving at the front, and my husband would do the deliveries. We had a chef that we hired, and it was so funny because some of the customers would come in, they'd be like, oh, you're very, you know, dressed very smartly. And obviously they had no idea that I just finished my day job as an accountant.
This is not, this is just your side hobby.
But that's what drove me to do it. I don't think confidence just came from nowhere. I think it's because I always wanted to prove a point that just because I'm a girl, just because I'm the only girl in my family, does not mean that I cannot do the same thing, if not better than my brothers.
Yeah. You wanted to be the one to set an example for the future generations of your family, or perhaps the people around you.
Absolutely. You know, it was just like, I felt like a failure a lot of the time, you know, growing up. It was the first time I failed something was my 11 plus when I was in primary school, so I didn't get into grammar school. And then I worked so hard at my, you know, GCSEs that I got into grammar school at sixth form, at A level. So it was like constantly, subconsciously in the back of my mind, I have to do this because I want mum and dad to feel proud of me.
Yeah.
You know? And I think the whole work thing, you know, losing my job, being redundant, I have to get a job. You know, my dad gave me 3 options, a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant.
You were in survival mode.
I was in survival mode, yeah, absolutely.
And would you still say you're in survival mode, or has that mindset changed?
I think since the children came along, that mindset has changed.
Yeah.
I think now what I do for them and not to prove a point to my parents.
Yeah. Have you kind of healed from that? Because that itself is very stressful to kind of have that worry.
It's taken me a long time.
Yeah.
You know, I questioned everything that I did, all the decisions I made. But I think I'm finally there now. I think I finally accept that actually I am who I am good enough, and it doesn't matter if I compare myself to others. I shouldn't really compare myself because everybody is unique in their own way. Everyone has their strengths and weaknesses, and it doesn't matter what my brother's doing or if he's being, you know, treated differently to me. I am me. I have my own life now. You know, I've got my own family, my own husband, my own children, my own businesses, my own friends, my own business community, and that's my life now. So it doesn't really matter what I do. It doesn't impact anyone else in my family or outside the family.
Yeah. That's a healthy and positive mindset.
It did take me a while.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy.
No. But was there anyone along the way, maybe a mentor or someone who gave you some advice that's always kind of stuck by you?
I would probably say there were two people, and funnily enough, they were both men. So one of them was my uncle. He's a multimillionaire, very, very popular in Kent. Everybody knows him, community leader.
As they say, yeah. That's how they're the real deal then.
Exactly. So we didn't have a very good relationship, but I always admired him with how successful he became. You know, he had the big house, he had the Range Rover, he had the money, he had everything. And I thought to myself, I want to be like this guy one day. I want to be able to turn up on his driveway in my own Range Rover, and, you know, prove to him that I've done it, that I've shown him. And I think without him realizing, he did become like an inspiration to me. I don't think he realized it before, but I was inspired by a lot of his tactics and what he did and how confident he was and how good he was at networking. He literally knew everybody. And I think part of me wanted to be like him, and that's why I started networking at such a young age. The other person is probably my business studies teacher when I was at secondary school. And believe it or not, the very first mock exam that I did in business studies, I got an E.
Oh my, I could not believe you getting an E.
Everything else, I was an A grade student.
Yeah.
Business studies, I don't know why I got an E. I just it just didn't click. And, you know, you look at me now, you're probably thinking, no, that's a lie. That can't be true.
You're a wizard in business now, but...
But I remember he pulled me to one side and he said, look, let's have extra sessions after school. So, you know, reluctantly, I turned up after school, and he explained things to me in a different way compared to how he explained it to the other students. And I finally got it. It clicked. And he was just so supportive. And he said to me, Romana, one day, look, if you want your own business, you can do it. I know you can do it. And those words will never, they've always stuck in my mind. And I remember saying to him, but I'm getting E's in my mock exam. There's no way I can ever do business. And then I was thinking, you know, all my family members, all the men in the family, they've all got businesses. I'm never going to be as good as them. But he was just so supportive, and he gave me those, you know, wise words of wisdom. And I don't know what happened, but the next mock exam, I got an A star.
Wow, from his words of encouragement, but also just, I think, the dedication that he kind of took to give you that time and that kind of safe space.
Absolutely.
To actually work at your own pace as well.
Yeah. So, Mr. Puxty, if you're listening to this, you know, I haven't forgotten about you. It's been years, but, you know, he was brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. And in terms of your goals that you set for yourself now, do you agree that setting realistic goals is a better way of kind of approaching the bigger goals in the future, per se?
100%. I'm sure you've heard of the SMART framework, goal setting, maybe. So it's very commonly used in business. You know, you set specific, measurable, achievable, realistic and time-bound goals. So if you say to yourself, I want to make 10 million, okay, well, how long? You know, is that realistic? What are you selling? Are you selling high ticket products? Are you selling things that are only worth £1? You know, is it realistic? Is it achievable? If you say to yourself, I want to make 10 sales a day, it's a lot more achievable. It's a lot more realistic. You know, you've set yourself a time constraint. So you can measure success easier. So if you do little things at a time, so set little goals, step by step, you're on your way closer to achieving the bigger goals.
I like that way of thinking about it. So there's less kind of stress and anxiety when trying to tackle them.
Because also psychologically, if you set yourself a goal and then you've missed it completely, you haven't achieved it, it sets you back. It can set you back, you know, and then you start getting imposter syndrome. Am I good enough? Can I do this? And then you start getting procrastination. You know, I don't want to do this, but I know I should be doing it. So, you know, it has a negative effect on your mind and on your mental health if you do fail to achieve a goal. So if you set specific, measurable achievable, realistic goals, you're more likely to hit them, and you're more likely to get those good endorphins when you do hit them, and it fuels you to go and hit your next target.
Absolutely. Join us after the break.
She's read before. She's consumed 2,000 books or more. Musty pulp and glue soundproof her tiny room. She cannot understand why this book in her hand fascinates her now so much. She's almost shy to touch. Don't think about the words, it's just a book, paper and ink. She reaffirms, reminds herself a book can't
You're
dictate
listening to
what
Salam
to
Radio,
think.
and it's
It
now time
invites
for Isha
intrigues her more
Azan. This
than
Azan is
others
sponsored
on
by
her
UK
shelf.
Islamic
Is
Mission,
it just
serving humanity
another
since
book?
1962.
She sits questioning herself. Hold on, she's so afraid to read. The wisdom that's revealed may burrow in her mind. She'll be obliged to admit, she'll be obliged to. أشهد أن لا
You're listening to Peterborough's community radio, Salam Radio. Salam Radio. 106.2 FM. Stay tuned to Salam Radio after this short ad break.
2020 World Buffet is inspired by the best foods from around the world. See our teppanyaki chefs grill your food to order, or choose delicious Indian, Italian, Chinese, Mexican dishes and British favourites, all halal. 2020 World Buffet offers you unlimited food at a set price. Open 7 days for lunch and dinner. Catering, wedding and party services available too. Call 01733 566 320 or visit 2020buffet.co.uk. 2020 World Buffet, 35 New Road, Peterborough, PE1 1FJ.
Are you a savvy shopper searching for the best food deals? Look no further. Adams Cash and Carry can help you save big. We're not just a food wholesaler for takeaways and restaurants. We also welcome household customers at our warehouse in Westwood, Peterborough. Visit our website and enjoy wholesale prices on everything from drinks to flour, rice to burgers, and much more. To shop, go online and collect in store. Visit adamscashandcarry.co.uk today to start your savings spree.
At Cake Inn, all our cakes and slices are freshly baked for that delicious taste. At Cake Inn, we bake 100% vegetarian and halal eggless fresh cream cakes. Delicious flavoured cakes for birthdays and weddings, ceremonies and all other occasions, with free customised messages, even balloons and candles too. Order for delivery or collection from Cake Inn, 489 Lincoln Road, PE1 2PE.
It's time to protect yourself against COVID-19 and the flu. If you or a family member are eligible for a vaccine this winter, then you can easily book an appointment.
Satisfy your cravings at Ibrahimi Buffet Restaurant. Enjoy a tantalising variety of Chinese, Italian, Pakistani and comfort food favourites, from starters to desserts. Kids under 5 dine for free, so bring the whole family to our restaurant at 63 Sycamore Avenue. Open every day from 5pm to 10:30pm. Call us on
Do you own a restaurant or takeaway? Cater Fair is an expert supplier of
Assalamu alaikum. You're tuning into Her Chronicles. Thank you for joining us after during the break. But we are now back, and we're going to be discussing key skills, Romana, that you have learned along the way, and skills you're still trying to work on as well. But what key skills do you think you need to introduce yourself to the business industry?
Well, definitely communication, because if you can't speak, then you're not going to get anywhere in business. And I feel like it's a big issue with this generation at the moment. They would rather email than actually pick up the phone and talk to somebody. But yeah, communication, and confidence as well. I know it's not easy to always have that confidence, especially if you're perhaps introverted. But confidence sells. And if you can be confident and if you can communicate effectively, then you've got the two key skills that you need to succeed in, whether it's business or employment, even in relationships, actually.
Yeah, these are the skills you're going to need for life. And you don't even realize that you're learning them or using them in your everyday life from actually a really young age as well.
Yeah.
But even just kind of like the passion you had for business, but not actually knowing how to go about it, even starting your own business.
I made every mistake under the sun, literally. Like, I didn't know how to be a boss. I was 22 when I started my first business. Just 22. I had no experience. I wasn't even a manager before I started my own business. So I had no idea how to lead, no idea how to manage. And the business growth was so fast, I just felt like I didn't have any training on the skills that I needed to become a better leader. And all I was doing was bringing in the clients. And I could hire other accountants to do the work, etc., which I did. But there was a lot of conflict in the office. I didn't like that. And I completely appreciate, I put my hands up. It was me. I should have developed those skills before I went ahead and did those things. And in hindsight, I was quite naive. I was young, I didn't think anything of it. But it was tough. Learning about HR, knowing the finances, knowing the legal stuff as well. Even just things like employment contracts or data protection. I just felt like it all came at once.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what to do.
It was like you're trying to be a leader, but you're also trying to learn how to be a good leader.
Exactly. And I did get into trouble. I did end up shouting, or I did end up actually once in an employment tribunal, but that was not my fault. I must admit that was not, and I won, so that wasn't my fault. But I've learned so much from those experiences, and I think experience is just such a sacred thing. Like you just, there's nothing that compares to it. You can read all the books in the world, but unless you physically have to face those situations in real life, you don't actually know how you're going to handle it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So from your experiences as a leader now, what are your kind of fundamental rules that you've established with your leadership skills?
I think I started off being authoritative, because I saw my dad in the restaurant and he'd always be barking at the waiters. And I thought that's what you needed to be.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, I've been, self-employed for 12 years? No, nearly 12 years? 11 years now. And now I have a more different approach. I'm more of a coaching leader. So I like to see my staff grow as, individuals, but also professionally. So it's not just about if they're okay, if they're happy at work. It's right, what can we do to get you to the next level? What can we do to get you that promotion? What courses do you need to go on? What training do you need? Is there anything I can do to help? So it's a lot more softer, and I feel like that approach works really for me. And I think because I've been coaching clients as well, that's where this came about. This type of leadership has come about from that, because it's made me realise that the best workforce you could have is a happy workforce. So if I have a more coaching mindset with my employees, then they're more willing to put in extra effort in their work, or they're more willing to come to me if they've got any issues. Not just handing their resignation letter and walk out. They're more likely to work things out if they're not happy for whatever reason. So I think if you can look after your staff, your employees, and you can show them that you're the type of person that is a good leader, just wants the best for them, personally as well as professionally, they're more likely to respond in a much more positive way, and they'll be more dedicated and loyal to you.
Yeah. Just having honest and open communication, and just being direct in what can I do for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think since COVID, we've got all the remote working, the home working, the hybrid working, flexible working. Since all that's come about, it makes it a lot easier to be that type of leader where you can put your team first and you can accommodate them to whatever their needs are, just to make sure they're happy. Obviously, you don't want them to be taking the mickey and taking advantage, so you still have to have that balance where, yes, you are helping them, but you're being assertive at the same time, and there are boundaries in place.
Do you think that there is good examples of women in leadership positions that you see on social media, or just any sort of media that you consume? Is it a good reflection?
I don't think we see enough, to be honest. I try and follow as many women in those positions as possible, and other than the famous ones, the Karen Bradys of the world, etc., the Deborah Meadens that you'd see on national TV. I don't really come across many women. They don't portray themselves as good leaders, as CEOs of companies, or as managing directors of a successful local company, for example. I don't see a lot of that. I hardly see any of it. The only women that I come across are in those positions are ones that have already successfully built up a personal brand, so maybe on LinkedIn or Instagram, so they've got a good following already, but it's because they're putting themselves out there. Or maybe networking events, so they're the ones that regularly come to networking events, are being nominated for awards and might appear in the press, for example. I don't see your average female woman in business, managing a team or managing clients, running her own thing. I don't see that very often.
No. Neither do I, especially women of colour, which is even more disheartening.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's not, for so many years, I feel like women of colour have been just sort of pushed to one side, that we're not really that important, or we shouldn't really be in business or have the limelight on us. And nowadays, I don't think it's the general public, and I don't think it's the media. I think everyone is trying to consciously make an effort to put women in colour in the spotlight. But now I think women don't want to be in the spotlight, or they don't know if they can.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back to what I experienced in the past. I never felt good enough. You know, so why do you want me in the spotlight? I don't think I'm good enough. I can't do this.
Why do you want to hear my story?
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. Because I come across so many South Asian women and they're brilliant. They're so talented. They're so good at what they do, and they're so intelligent and brave and confident. And I always say to them, why don't you take your business further? Why don't you, you know, even just something simple as send a press release in to the local paper, you know, get them to write an article about you. Oh, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. What will other people think? So they're fine selling their services or products to their own customers, to their client base. But when it comes to putting themselves out there in the public eye, they shy away from that.
And what advice would you give to those women then?
I'd say forget what anyone else is going to think or say about you, because if you're thinking it, they're probably already talking about you. At the end of the day, no one else is putting a roof above your head. No one else is feeding your kids. No one else is putting the clothes on your back. If you are passionate about your business or work and you want to pursue it, you want to grow it, you need to put yourself out there. You need to show the whole world that you are very good at what you do, that you're unique, that you can inspire other women, and just forget about anyone else in the communities, in the families, even your friendship circle. Just forget what they're going to say, because at the end of the day, it's human nature. People love to gossip. People love to make things up, talk about people, and you just have to sort of set that aside and just think, well, I'm doing me. This is all for me. You know, find your why, find your reason. Why are you doing this? Why are you in business? Like I said, for me, it was my children. I don't care what people say to me. At the end of the day, if I can afford to take my children on a summer holiday every year, you know, they're getting whatever toys they want, they're getting presents, they're getting clothes.
Yeah.
I can take them on experiences, take them on days out to the zoos or parks or whatever. They're happy. My children are happy. That's my why, you know?
Yeah.
Like my son's telling me he wants to go to Dubai over Christmas. Well, bit late to book it now. I don't know if I'm going to find anything, but I'll try my hardest.
Gosh, Dubai and Christmas. That sounds pretty cool.
Well, he said it's not going to snow in England, so he might as well be somewhere hot.
True. Who knows? We might get snow.
Maybe. But that's you know, find your reason why and let that why be your motivating factor. Forget everybody else. I have spent so long listening to what other people are saying about me, being nervous, you know, what are people going to talk about? What are they going to say? But it doesn't matter.
No.
At the end of the day, if people want to talk about you, that's their own thing.
Yeah.
I mean, their lives must be so bad that they've got nothing else to talk about, nothing better to talk about. But I do find that a lot of, especially in the Peterborough community, actually, they're too afraid because of all the gossip that goes on.
Yeah, it's a very close-knit community, but sometimes for the wrong reasons.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
everyone knows everyone.
Yeah.
And if you do something out of the ordinary and you go outside the box, and God forbid you are strange, you're different and you're weird, and that's when the rumours start.
2014, I remember December 2013, all my family, extended family, came round to my parents' house over the Christmas holidays. And I said to them, I'm setting up my own business. I'm launching New Year's Day 2014. And my parents didn't really say anything, but everybody else, not a single person in the family, I'm talking about 30 people inside the house, not a single one said congratulations. Not a single one said, what can we do to help you?
Yeah.
I got comments like, oh, who do you think you are? You know, you think you're the big man, yeah? You're going to run your own business. Who do you think you are? I got the whole, you're never going to make it. I got the whole, why do you want to start up your own business? You should be investing in bigger companies like BP or, you know, the post office at the time. And I'm just like, but I enjoy what I do. I'm good at what I do. Why can't I have my own accountancy firm, my own business? Why can't I have my own office, have my own staff and make something for myself? And I was so down. I remember going home and thinking to myself, maybe I can't do this.
Yeah, that's when the doubt kicked in.
And I'm so glad I didn't. And I had such a wonderful, supportive partner, you know, and he was very good. And he was just like, forget what anyone else is saying. You proved them wrong. That was December 2013. December 2014, my first year was up. Christmas holidays, I turned up at my parents' in a Mercedes convertible. Not a single person said, wow. Not a single person. The boys did.
Yeah.
The boys were very much, into cars, but none of the girls, none of the
Silence
women in the family.
again.
It's like they just
Yeah.
walked past and
Yeah.
they didn't even see the car. They couldn't even say, oh, congratulations, you've done so well. The 12 months has been hard, but it looks like it's paying off. Because prior to that, I was broke. I had nothing. I was really struggling for money.
Yeah.
So the fact that I could turn up in a convertible Mercedes, brand new, I was so proud of myself. And I kind of was hoping that these people would feel the same way for me. But then it just hit me again, like, oh my God, they still don't think I'm good enough, or they're still talking about me. And at the time, they couldn't talk about whether or not I was successful in business because it was obvious I was. They started talking about my weight. Oh, look at her. She's neglecting herself. She's put on weight. She doesn't look nice, etc., etc. It's one of those things. It doesn't matter.
They're always going to find something.
Exactly. It doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter what colour, what race, what religion you are. It doesn't matter where in the world you are, how rich you are, how poor you are. This is just human behaviour.
Yeah.
We're never going to eradicate it. You can either learn to live with it and just forget about it and just, let it go over your head, or you can let it consume you. And trust me, from experience, consuming it is not the way to go.
No, you don't need that negativity in your life at all. But how do you now balance it all with your career and just being a mum and trying to be there for the key memories? And also, I know you're back in education as well, because that's actually how we met, is through university. So you are studying a digital marketing degree.
Yep.
How has that been?
Well, luckily, the first task I ever had to do was on time management.
Oh, wow.
That was my first assignment. Yeah. And that was just so lucky that I had that, because I was panicking. I was stressing out a lot. Because I've got 3 kids now, and the youngest is 1 year old, and she is a handful.
What's her name?
Maya.
Maya. Aww.
Yep. She's absolutely stunning and so intelligent, but she is such a handful. And so I've had to make some compromises, like with business. I've let that slow down on growth at the moment because I really want to focus on my education. So I am still taking on clients, but I'm trying not to be burnt out. If I take too much on, that will happen and it won't benefit anybody. So I actually made like a time management plan and a calendar. So I have like a big calendar at home on my wall, and everything is on the calendar. Absolutely everything. Like down to when I'm going to have lunch, like when I'm picking up the kids from school, after school clubs, nativity plays, parents' evenings, client meetings, and obviously having international clients, there's a time difference as well. So that doesn't help. That does not make life things easier. So, the Canadians, for example, they are 5 hours behind us. So it's not like I can do my morning meeting at 9 a.m. with them because they're still in bed. It's 4 a.m. in their time. Gosh. So I try and manage everything on this calendar. Food calendars, what food I'm going to make, because I don't want to worry about there's no what shall I cook tonight, or I need to go to the supermarket and get this ingredient or that ingredient. Everything has got to be managed. The reason I do that now is because the first few weeks I was all over the place. We were having takeaways every night. I was working until 1-2 a.m. in the morning, and I just thought I can't.
There was no sense of routine.
No. So that's how I balance education, children, and my business. Just literally timing everything. And there are actually some models that I learned, principles that you can apply, like the Pomodoro technique, which actually, if my lecturers listen to this, she'll be laughing because I spoke about it a lot in my presentation. But it's setting yourself, like, say, 25 minutes at a time to really focus on a piece of work. So it could be that right now I'm going to spend 25 minutes, I'm going to make a plan of what I'm going to do with my clients, and that's it. I'm going to take a break. But I've spent the entire 25 minutes doing something rather than procrastinating, tapping my fingers, thinking, what shall I do? What shall I do first?
You use your
so many
time
things to do.
usefully.
What shall I do first? Yeah, exactly.
Wow. I definitely will be implementing that, actually. So I'm using my time efficiently rather than
Yes.
procrastinating.
Exactly.
But we are heading towards the end of the show now. But I
Okay.
want to say a huge thank you to you, Romana, for sharing your journey and just the highs and lows and just being very real and honest with it, because sometimes people can look from the outside of your life and see it as the life they want to live, and they look at all the glory and all the good in it, but it also comes with the hard work, sweat, tears.
You've said it.
Everything
You've got
else.
it spot on, Maleeha. You've got it spot on. You saw me pull up outside in my Range Rover and everything. You're probably thinking, oh, this girl's sitting in front of me with her Gucci glasses on. She's got everything. But you don't know what it took for me to get here. There were points in my life where all I had the whole day was one piece of toast. I was so poor, I couldn't afford anything. I was in debt, couldn't afford anything. I was all over the place. My mental health took a massive toll. I ended up in depression. It was very, very tough.
Yeah.
But people don't see that. People don't see what you've gone
people
through.
don't see the hardships that have made you into the strong, amazing woman you are today.
Thank you.
But thank you again. Thank you for tuning in and joining me in a next week on Tuesday, 6 to 7 p.m. Assalamu alaikum.